Coming to you from my garage again. This week I'm going to talk about pet portraits. I will really want to attempt a pet portrait of my dog Tulip. I don't think I'm going to try something that's really photorealistic. I'd like to do something kind of abstract, which is sort of my style. There are some beautiful pet portrait artists out there, and I might look at some of their art to get inspired. I hope you do too. Stay tuned.
Good girl, there she is. Good, sit. Oh, sit. Sit.
She doesn't listen very well.
There she is. There's that good girl. Oh, yes, I love you. Oh, thank you. Should I make a painting of you?
Anyway, today is all about pets. Pets are like family to many of us, and historically, artists have loved to include their pets in their artwork. I decided the first thing I'd like to do is take some photos of my dog, and of course, she cooperated really well right from the get-go.
Tulip. Psst. Tulip.
Finally, I managed to get a few photos that show different parts of her that I think are special. I like some views that are a little different than I would normally take as a photo, even things like the white on her tail or the way she trots through the yard. First, I'm starting with sketching one of my photos with a sketchbook, some graphite pencils, and some viewfinders. If you don't know how to make a viewfinder, check out my other video about how to make a viewfinder and how to use it for some art. And some flowers from my daughter. If you have the patience, you can try to use your viewfinder while your dog is sitting live in front of you, which is kind of exciting and fun and frustrating at the same time. You could get some cool little compositions out of using your viewfinder if your dog is really patient and calm and isn't going to get up and walk away. I decided to take it inside to review my photos and chose a few that I thought were the best ones that I could use to make some art projects. The first one, I chose to do an ink wash drawing, and I'm starting with just some basic shapes of her head. I'm not going to do a whole animal drawing tutorial, but there are tons of good ones on YouTube. I'm sort of using my technique of finding the right line using a gesture drawing. I have another video on this channel focusing on that topic. I'm just trying to get the general gesture and shape of her face and torso so that I can paint with ink. If you're feeling extra creative, you can bring your viewfinder in here and abstract your dog portrait a little bit. Pet portrait, whatever animal you're doing. Ink time. Brushes. Okay, let's get the ink down on here. I want to get some high contrast in this drawing. This is going to be black and white. It's going to be mostly based on values, so I'm trying to fill in the areas with some really dark ink and then wash it a little bit with some water. Vary the value behind my pet so that it's interesting to look at. It kind of bounces your eye around because the value changes. While that puddle dries, I'm going to get some stuff ready for collaging. Some old drawings, make your drawings work, some canvas chunks, some old window screen would be fun. Oh, there's some. And some more old drawings. You might have seen these in another video I did. This time I chose another photo that I did for this collage piece. I wanted to do kind of an abstract sort of top-down shot of her head, and I'm gonna draw in the shapes again. Big round circle for her head, kind of a rectangle for her snout, little triangle ear shapes. Once I've sort of got all of this blocked in, I can start to use some pieces to collage onto my canvas. I'm using wood glue to secure everything, secure some canvases, and I'm going to start to just examine what pieces look like what parts of my dog. Found some good ear part there from a drawing I did. Gonna let this glue dry and revisit my ink wash drawing. Coming back in with, again, more contrast, darker value, layering some ink on top of what I already did, and then filling in some of what I haven't done yet. Sort of just trying to get a value base down and then come back in on top of that with more ink to darken it up. Darken it up, that's a technical term, right? Now my dog is black, so I'm not gonna just paint a flat black shape of her. It just wouldn't look interesting. So since all of my ink is black, I'm just using varying shades of black to make sure I'm filling in her shapes and getting definition where her legs are, underneath her chin. It's gonna be darker, kind of basic drawing principles. Time to let it dry again. Here's my third pet portrait. I'm gonna use just a piece of cardboard that I have laying around. And this one I kind of want to make into a little pop arty piece. So I'm gonna gesso my cardboard and put some paper underneath so I don't ruin my carpet and let that dry. Ink again, layer again. It got really soft, so I'm coming back in with dark, really concentrated ink around the parts that I feel like would have shadow to define the shapes of her face. I'm going to make darker the parts that would tend to be in shadow, recede a little bit further back, and that'll make her snout sort of pop forward. I want to balance some of the darks, so I'm not going to only have dark in the center. I'd like to have some darks in the background as well to make sure I'm balancing all the value on the page. All right, time to let this puppy dry again. I'm using a profile photo for my pop art piece. Again, I'm going to sketch in the shapes of a big circle for her head and a rectangle for her snout again, triangle for her ears. And I'm just sketching this in so I can paint some really bright colors on top of it. I'm going to use a style that I learned when I was studying Wayne Thiebaud, and he sort of does paintings of pastries and sweets that look really decadent. And what he does is he outlines the shapes in really bright colors, layers of really bright colors, and then comes in with oil paint on top. And what I'm going to do is use acrylic, but I'm going to use that same sort of style. I'm outlining in a really bright red and some warm colors after I've done a nice cool turquoise in the background. I'm going to outline with orange on top of the red and then some yellow on top of the orange, and then I'll come in with my black to fill in my dog's true colors. I'll let that dry. Back to my collage, adding some pieces around her head, getting glue and paper all over my fingers.
Now I'm gonna paint. So I'm gonna use this.
So a funny thing happened when I went to sleep that night. I woke up and I didn't love my collage. So I decided to paint around Tulip's head to really make the collage part of her head stand out off of the canvas. So I'm painting on top of the collage work I did. So there's still texture there. I just decided I wanted some dark behind her to push her head forward. Back to my pop art, filling in the dark colors of her fur. I don't know about you, but I love bouncing back and forth between art, letting something dry, bouncing to something else, trying something else, because actually what I learn while I'm doing something else sometimes will inform or give me a new revelation about a different piece that I'm working on. So they're always helping each other and helping me get better and grow. I decided I didn't want just black behind her head, so I mixed up a little unbleached titanium sort of imitation color with some raw sienna and some titanium white, and let it drip a little bit. Switch over, add some bright white on Tulip's snout. And add some oil gold. Drip that down too. Add some more texture and shine. The most important thing when creating whatever pet art you choose to create is to have fun. Your pet is going to love the extra attention that he or she is getting, and you get to spend this extra time focusing on your pet and giving them your full attention. And you'll end up with some really fun art that hopefully you like. Enjoy.